Hi, and welcome to Terry Talks Movies again. And it's Science Fiction Saturday once more. I've got a new movie, just came out, getting a lot of buzz, which is a dystopian science fiction movie based on a novel by Richard Bachman, who, of course, was a pseudonym for Stephen King. The Long Walk. Fantastic film, and it has such a clear, straightforward, down-the-line premise. No complications, no sudden twists, except maybe a little bit at the end. It's just such a clean story in the sense of straight down the line. The premise is set up. Everything that happens after that is a consequence of it. It's directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed a number of movies you might have heard of. Constantine. He directed I Am Legend. He directed the Hunger Games movies. And he also directed Red Sparrow. So this guy knows his way around this kind of cinema. Premise is simple. You probably know it already. It's set in an alternate dystopian America in the 1970s, where 19 years before there's a war happened in America. The suggestion is that it's a civil war and the Christian fascist one. And every year the authorities have a long walk, which is a way of showing the courage of young men in America. There's a lottery among all of the young men who put their names in for the long walk, and one young man is selected from each state in America, so there are 50 of them. The rules of the long walk are very simple. You start out, if you go below 3 miles an hour, you get 3 warnings and then they shoot you in the head. You just keep walking until there's only one left. That's it. That's the long walk. The long walk is supervised by the Major, played by Mark Hamill, who is doing really great work now that he's shed the Star Wars franchise. And the Major is the head of the military in this dictatorship. He encourages the young men to keep walking. He tells them they're heroes. He does all the blowing smoke up their asses to keep them motivated. And they start to walk. And the walk continues, and it continues, and it continues. No stopping, no slowing down, no breaks. They get canteens of water when they need it so they don't dehydrate, but you've got to keep walking. That's the brutal centerpiece for this movie. The two main people in the walk are Ray Garrity, played by Cooper Hoffman, the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Cooper Hoffman does a good job of playing a guy who's walking through his native state. So he lives in the state they're walking through during the long walk.
I'm Ray Garrity. You can call me Ray.
And he and his mother, played by Judy, Greer, drive up to the starting line of the long walk, and they have some interactions. Judy Greer is fantastic in this film. She only gets about 3 scenes, but shit, she lands it well. She's been doing really good work for the last 25 years in cinema. And in this role, even though it is a supporting role, even though it's a role that isn't given a lot of agency, she totally nails it. The other main character on the walk is Pete McVries, played by David Jonsson.
Pete McVries.
Hank Olsen's the name. Walking's my game.
The English actor who played the android Andy in Alien Romulus and was the best thing in Alien Romulus, which I know is not a high bar, but he was very good in that, and he is incredibly good in this movie. He doesn't steal the movie, but he works with the other actors, and he is magnificent. If this guy doesn't have a fantastic career in cinema, then there's no justice in the world. The script for this one was written by JT Mollner, who wrote and directed one of the great movies I've seen this year, Strange Darling. And he knows what he's doing. And the beats of this movie, like the plot beats and the character beats on this movie, are perfect. No notes at all. They just do everything they need to do. And the evolution of the ensemble as the walk starts and as the walk continues is really interesting. Some people drop out fairly early and are dispatched with a bullet to the head very, very quickly and brutally. And those character beats land really heavily. They don't shy away from the gore. They don't show you every person getting shot, but they show you enough of them when they cut to shallow depth of field with the characters in the foreground and someone in the background being dispatched, or as the Major says, having their ticket punched. It doesn't matter because you know what that is. There are a few later in the movie that get a lot more than that, but the brutality of this film lands hard. By the way, I didn't mention, but the prize for going on a long walk is you get $1 million and you get any wish you want within certain parameters to be fulfilled. And each of the different walkers has a different wish, and each of them wants $1 million. One guy wants to make his wish. He wants 10 naked ladies. They all very different, but they're all very young and very stupid because they're young men. And all of them had different life experiences. There's a cuckoo in the nest, but I'm not going to go further than spoil that. And Ray himself has some connections to the Major, which are very explicitly laid out later in the film. The movie's shot beautifully as well. You get a lot of close-ups of the characters, and mostly mid and close-ups. And then as they jump forward in time, you get some beautiful long tracking shots of this row of doomed young men walking along country roads as the landscape changes and as night falls and as the day changes. You get a sense in your gut that, oh shit, another one's going to die. The emotional impact of this movie is incredible. There's a bunch of scenes that when night falls and they're marching through the night, and as they're marching through the night, they hit a really big hill, and they've got to keep up the 3 mile an hour pace up this really big hill, and not everybody makes it. There's also the antagonism between the characters because everybody wants to be the winner. Everybody wants to get to wherever this hypothetical finish line is when they are the only person walking. There are antagonisms between the walkers, but there are also alliances and friendships and true romances that happen between characters in this film. For me, that's the core and that's the emotional heart of the movie. The fact that in spite of the fact very powerful instrumentalities are forcing these young men into antagonistic positions against each other, and they're playing them off against each other for their own purposes. Nonetheless, their humanity is retained in a lot of cases, and the young men form friendships and help each other because they don't want the person they've been walking with and talking to and building a bond with to die. So they will grab them and pull them along and help them and give them suggestions and form, in a tragic sense, a community within this horrible situation that they have. And I think that for me, that's the core of them. However, people for their own purposes try to pull us apart. We don't pull apart, we form communities. We bond. We don't follow the narrative all the time. And not everybody follows the narrative instinctively during that period of time. And you've got to remember, this is 19 years after these fascists have taken over. And so the whole of the culture is geared towards them believing the bullshit of the propaganda of their government. But some people don't believe it. And some people have enough lived experience, even at a young age, to understand when they're being lied to. All of this is woven into this movie in a really interesting way. Now, of course, it is a metaphorical movie, as it could be about a whole bunch of different things. Any of these following things I'm going to mention are valid interpretations of the metaphorical parts of this movie. First off, the book was started by Stephen King in 1967, 1968. He wrote this book during 67, 68. It was only published after he decided to start the Bachman pseudonym, well after Carrie hit as a really big novel and the Stephen King machine rolled large in the literary landscape. He wrote this novel 8 years before Carrie. So 8 years before the novel that made him successful is where The Long Walk comes from. And 67, 68 is during the Vietnam War. Stephen King was at university. He could have been conscripted and sent to Vietnam, and he was very aware of that. And so he made this movie metaphorical about conscription and young men being sent to an unjust war. And in a sense, these young men are conscripted. They live in a circumstance where there's been an economic collapse in America and nobody's got any money. Everybody's poor and struggling. And so the carrot on the stick is this walk where if you are the person who prevails among the 50, you will be able to look after yourself and your family and you will get a wish. That parallel between the Vietnam conscription process, which happened here in Australia. I mean, I was only 2 years away from conscription when, fortunately, the Labor government ended it. I would never have become part of the army because I was too screwed up for them to accept me. But that was a thought on my mind as well. We stopped that and we've never conscripted anybody ever again, and we never will unless we have an invasion. That's the basis from which Stephen King wrote this very simple, very straightforward novel. Now, there are a whole bunch of changes from the novel in the movie because it's not the 1960s anymore. There are people calling each other gay slurs and things like that in the book. And that's been taken out because it's a very different time and a very different culture we live in now. So at one level, it can be seen as a metaphor for conscription in the Vietnam War. At another level, it's an explicit movie against the Trump era. The fact that the major lies to these young men and the whole culture is geared towards lying to America about America. The major tells them that we're going to make America great again. And even though it's 19 years after this war, which has crippled America economically, socially, politically, technologically, they still spread the bullshit. They still spread the lies. America's become a North Korea. We don't know what's happening in the rest of the world, but America has poverty levels like North Korea in this movie. So that's very much a part of what this movie is saying. And Mark Hamill himself has been outspoken about his criticisms of the Trump regime. And so that's all a part of it as well. And for me, there's another layer of metaphor you can use as well, because in a weird, totally messed up sense, the long walk is a sport. And the movie can be seen as a metaphor for contact sports and sports that destroy the bodies and minds of young people. We're only now really understanding that contact sports cause CTE in young people, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Basically, it makes them senile well before their time. And it has done ever since contact sports started. And I've got a beam of sunlight across my forehead. Let's adjust this. So there's that part of it as well. And also the bodies of young people are crippled by contact sports. And any sport, in fact, any professional sport is going to cripple people. They get hamstring injuries, they get knee injuries, they get ankle injuries, they get arm and leg and body injuries and spinal injuries. All that kind of stuff is a part of professional sport and also many amateur sports. And so there's an aspect of that as well. As the war continues, you see one of the guys trying to keep up the pace, walking on a broken ankle that's bent sideways. And you see them starting to lose their minds. One guy has a cerebral hemorrhage and just stops and is dispatched by the soldiers in the armored cars that are following them and the tank that's following him. So there's a metaphor for sport where the bodies and minds of young people are destroyed as entertainment. And for centuries now, we've accepted that as being okay. And it's not. So there's all of these parallels you can make between things that are in the real world and The Long Walk. This is an incredible little film. It wasn't made for a large budget. I'm just trying to find out what the budget was for you. So just hold on. $20 million budget, which is a pittance these days, really. $20 million budget. I have this movie makes all the money in the world. I think it's one of those movies that talks to the times in which it's made. And those movies always have a long tail to them. I mean, all the best movies are about the times in which they're made and speak to it. You look, just off the top of my head, Bad Day at Black Rock is about McCarthyism and how one individual needs to stand up against the injustices of the world. Movies that are of their time and that criticize aspects of their time that need criticism are movies that are going to be respected in the future. The movies that go along with us and go along with the conservative, conventional wisdom of a time, like John Wayne's The Green Berets, are now forgotten, except by nuts like me. So this movie is a powerful criticism of the way young people are chewed up by capitalism, by fascism, by societies that have a strong but wrong-headed mythologies about themselves. And I'm not just saying America in this case. We do it too. So you might want to check out The Long Walk. I think it's a powerful little film. It's not a movie you're going to watch 20 times in a row like a Superman movie, but it is a movie that has a lot to say. It says it incredibly well. The ensemble of actors and actresses, mostly one actress, are so good. Cooper Hoffman's good. David Jonsson's fantastic. Mark Hamill, behind some aviator shades and a gruff voice, is chilling as the Major. And there's a scene when the walkers first see the Major, and one of the walkers starts shivering, terrified of the man. Just an incredibly nuanced and complex and tragic movie. But gee, it's well made and it's incredible. And the ending lands perfectly. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's something at the ending which horrifies, but it seems right. Just a terrific little film. Probably one of my best for this year. My friend Grant Watson over at fictionmachine.com says it's the best movie he's seen so far this year. Well, I'm going to have to look back and see the other ones I've seen for the first time this year. But it's definitely top 5, if not top 3, of the movies I've seen this year. Little $20 million movie based on a Stephen King story that I don't know why it hasn't been made before now, but it hasn't. Maybe it just needed that right moment in history to be made. You should check it out, own a copy when it comes out on physical media, and tell your friends about it. So that's what I got for you this time around. One film, one science fiction film, because it's a dystopian alternative universe, which is definitely a science fiction concept. And even though they're remaking one of the other Bachman novels, The Running Man, with Glenn Powell, which looks like it's going for the gonzo action film approach thing. I think this is a better movie. Without even seeing The Running Man, I'm going to say that there's more guts and heart to The Long Walk than there's going to be in a Running Man remake. Just speculating a little bit there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know later if I am. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you to the patrons, to the Patreon people who support this channel and the channel members who support this channel and keep things going here. Thank you very much to all of you. But there are other ways people can support the channel as well. You can like this video, you can leave a comment, you can hit the notification bell, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We want to get to 20,000 by the end of the year. Don't know if I'm going to, but I would really like to. You can also do a new thing that's on the mobile app for YouTube called hyping. If you swipe left on the comment bar when you're looking at YouTube on mobile, there's a hype button where you can hype this video and bring it to the attention of more people. So if you want to do that, I'm all for it. And of course, if you want to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. Next up, we've got the live stream, but I'm doing the live stream a day early. And instead of doing it on Monday morning my time, I'm doing it on Sunday morning my time. I've got stuff to do on Monday, so I don't, unfortunately, have the time to do the live stream on Monday. But it's going to be the usual fun and games and the interactions and the questions and answers and all the ask me anything stuff. So that's going to be fun as well. But just be aware it's going to be a day early. So until that happens and the circus arrives in town, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Definitely watch The Long Walk. I think if you're the kind of person who likes intelligent and politically motivated science fiction, you're going to like this one. So watch that, and I'll catch you next time.